Hello and welcome to Runner Media. It's election night. My name is Amy Pachla. I'm the copy chief of the Runner, and I'm also doing the elections media tonight. It's around 6 p.m. on the March 3rd, so there's about 2 more hours before the polls close in California. Polls are already closing on the East Coast, and we have some results that we will be posting later. But right now, I have Tristan Wieser, who is the president of the College Republicans Club here at CSUB. And I wanted to talk to him a little bit about some of the local races and candidates that are happening. How are you doing tonight?
Excellent.
You excited about the whole voting thing? I know you're a Republican, and there's way more going on the Democrat side this particular Super Tuesday.
Yeah, I dropped in my ballot this morning around 7.
Excellent. I also voted. I'm a vote-by-mail voter, so we are all voters here. So I wanted to start with some of the supervisor races that are going on now. I've heard a lot about the 4th district and how it was kind of relined. The state found that it was illegally gerrymandered, and they changed it. And David Couch, who had been previously a white Republican representative for a mostly Latino area, retook that seat even after the lines were redrawn. So he clearly has a strong representation in that district overall. You have an interesting take on if David Couch actually loses this time to, I believe his opponent is Emilio Huerta?
Yes.
You have a theory on why you think that may have happened.
Sure. So the February Central Committee meeting for the county party was the last opportunity for different orgs to come together and draw up last-minute battle plans. Instead of a business meeting, it was redesigned to be a sales pitch for the Lincoln Day fundraiser with Senator Lindsey Graham. And that fundraiser the sales call ended up being canceled. So if Supervisor Couch loses, we only have ourselves to blame and not reaching out and planning at the February meeting.
All right. So they decided to do fundraising instead of voter outreach, and you think that will be their big downfall. Speaking of voter outreach, 2 measures that are coming up that have a lot of people talking are Measure D and Measure E. Now, these are both connected to whether or not we can have marijuana shops, pot shops in Kern County. As of right now, there's a ban in place. And no storefront shops can be operated inside incorporated Kern County. The 2 different measures, one was introduced by growers, local business owners who had been operating dispensaries here in Kern County from before January 1st, 2018, I believe is when they wanted to set that cutoff. And the other one has been put forward by the Board of Supervisors, Kern County Board of Supervisors. And there are some key differences in the 2 measures. Which one do you think would be the more beneficial one for Kern County? There's the supervisors one. They want to limit where the storefronts can be and charge a licensing fee to anybody who wants to run one of these dispensaries. Measure D, that's Measure E. Measure D is introduced by the growers. Wouldn't have any of that. It would keep the shops at least 1,000 feet away from schools. But other than that, it would allow them to open and operate pretty much wherever they could find the space and someone to rent to them. The tax rates on both, I believe, are the same, 3.75 return on profit to the county. Which one do you think would be better? Which one do you think is more likely to catch on? Or do you think Kern County voters are, again, just going to say no on all of it, just like the last time we put these up to a vote?
So I am following the Californians' recommendation. I believe that Measure E would allow for a far more orderly way to regulate and tax the industry that would be brought out of the shadows. I've got to say, whether or not they will pass is still up in the air. Personally, I have not received like any mailers supporting or opposing either of their propositions. And I know Mr. David Adabasi, one of the backers for Measure D, also decided to split his time launching a supervisorial race instead of fully committing to planning out the Measure D campaign.
What do you think about all of the different signs? Have you seen them around Bakersfield? A couple of other news organizations have reported on them, where it says, vote for Measure D for Kern County jobs. And the contention there is obviously that Measure D doesn't really address job creation other than in the fact that it will allow people to open pot shops. But that's not the kind of jobs that actually will support a community like Bakersfield. What do you think of that? Do you think that's dishonest or kind of?
So I think that it might not be the most genuine, but there are still plenty of related service industries that would be created if the shops were regulated. Things like armored trucks to take away the cash, because cannabis still is illegal on the federal level. It is a mostly cash-only business, and banks just don't want to touch the industry.
You're right. I hear that. I didn't even think about that. There's an entire ancillary set of industries you have to deal with when you're dealing with a cash-only business. So that's a very interesting point. You showed me something earlier. It's an app. It's called Vote With Me. It's a phone app that lets you know if your friends have voted. And I'm all about voter participation and bugging people to vote. How have you seen people? You've got kind of an inside track then if you're connected with this Vote With Me app with certain people like on campus, maybe faculty members. And are you finding that there's higher turnout or lower turnout? How many people are you having to bug to get up and vote?
So I have found quite a bit of interesting information. Even among some of my own instructors, I can see that one of the professors in the history department is a brilliant academic, turns out to conferences to further the craft and the profession all the time. However, she appears to have not voted in a primary election since 2008. I just had her in class this morning. I was able to talk with her and remind her to please go vote, especially on Measures D and E. I have many friends, both on campus and off campus, that are not able to get the medicine that they need due to the ban on brick and mortar shops. One of my friends has missed several classes, and she has to drive out of the county to Los Angeles in order to get the medicine she needs for her pain management. I've also found out that several of my classmates, like one young lady, has a medical card, has a vested interest in the success of the propositions, and yet she was not registered to vote. The app has little pre-generated text messages to send to your friends, and I was able to get her registered to vote.
Awesome. So it is working. Now, how does this app how does it connect up like people you know with their voting record?
Sure. So the app checks against the databases that each state has. Now, the state does not know who you vote for in an election, but it knows if you showed up to vote or not. So I was able to search for, let's call her Dr. X's name, see that she was registered in California, and then see her voting history.
That's a very handy. It's a very handy app, and whether or not you took part in an election is generally kept on record. If you're registered to vote in Kern County and you voted in recent elections, even the midterms or primaries, if you go to the Kern County Elections Division website, you have an option to see your own registration and participation history. Again, they don't keep track of who you voted for. just that you voted. And this is the information. It's in Kern County, it's in other counties, it's in other states, and this is the information that this Vote With Me app is scraping to determine whether or not, any given person on your contacts list or any person you search has participated. Not who they voted for, just that they voted. Let me see where we were. You were telling me a story, and I just wanted to get it out because I am a member of the press, and as a member of the press, I've been watching the Trump campaign and some of his people that he works with, and him himself, and the crowds that he attracts are sometimes not very considerate of journalists, and that is kind of a thing to me, but more than just personal, there seems to be like you tell.
Sure. So President Trump has personally given me a very minor injury and grievance. I had an interview scheduled with a local NPR reporter about increasing youth turnout in elections. I had the Humanities Dean's conference room booked out, ready to be interviewed by this reporter. It was scheduled for like 10 a.m. or so on the Wednesday that President Trump came in. However, the campaign required the media to report in at like 9:30 a.m., sit around for several hours before the president arrived at 2. Obviously, the reporter chose to go to the bigger story, so I had to have my interview canceled.
Oh my goodness! I was just not. So do you see how your actions have consequences, Mr. Trump? We do not want to be a partisan here, but is there anything in specific, like what do you have planned? Are you going to a watch party later on tonight, or are you going to visit with one of the campaign headquarters later on for the results? Or I saw that you brought a hat with you.
Oh yeah, it is right there.
Yes, let me grab it.
So I will be going to the Go campaign watch party downtown this evening.
It's Karen Go.
Yes.
Bakersfield's mayor.
Yeah.
Where is that taking place?
It is going to be at the Junior League of Bakersfield on 19th Street. I believe it's going to be from 7:30 until 10 this night. Strangely, I don't believe the county party organized any specific election event, despite pulling in quite a large sum of money from Lindsey Graham coming to speak.
That is very interesting. Well, we will be having our own election night coverage, and I really hope maybe we can get out to Karen Go's party tonight, and we will see you there. We will try and get a team out to a couple of different places tonight as the election coverage rolls on here. But for right now, I want to thank you very, very much, Tristan. This is Tristan Wieser. He's the president of the College Republicans here at CSU Bakersfield. Thank you so, so much for joining us and for giving us your opinions. And thank you for voting. Thank you for being involved.
All right. Happy Election Day, everyone.